Darkness swallowed the narrow path as Leila clutched her small bundle, every rustle in the dense brush sounding like a whisper of death. Somewhere ahead, distant gunfire cracked through the night, sharp and unforgiving, echoing across the broken landscape. Her breath shallow, heart pounding against the ragged rhythm of war, she dared not stop. She was alone, yet surrounded by the ghosts of those who had vanished in the chaos. How had she survived this long, fleeing from a nightmare that most tried to forget? This was no ordinary escape. It was a desperate fight to claim life itself amidst the rubble of a shattered homeland. The year was 2017. The once vibrant town where Leila had spent her childhood was now a wasteland of crumbled walls and shattered dreams. The air hung thick with the scent of burning diesel and decayed flesh, seeping into the cold mud that stained her clothes. Silence had replaced laughter, save for the distant thunder of artillery and the muffled cries of those left behind. She could still hear her mother's whispered prayers and the faint lullabies for her younger siblings. But those voices were ghosts now, memories fading beneath the relentless march of war. That day began like any other with an oppressive quiet, broken only by the rumble of armored vehicles creeping through the streets. Then came the shelling, the earth shaking violently beneath their feet, the sky torn apart by screaming metal. The inciting moment arrived with no warning. The sudden eruption of violence forced thousands onto the roads, turning families into fugitives overnight. Leila's village was swept away in flames and gunfire. All they could do was run. The journey was a relentless nightmare. Every step forward meant navigating through a minefield of emotions, terror, despair, and a flickering flame of hope. She crossed barricades erected by strangers and dodged patrols marking enemy territory, her small frame shrouded in darkness and fear. Food was scarce, exhaustion relentless. One night, in a makeshift camp beneath a bullet-scarred wall, she pressed her cheek against the cold earth, the tears soaking into the dirt as the distant drone of helicopters circled overhead. The struggle was not only to evade death, but to cling to sanity under the crushing weight of loss. Then came the breaking point. In the midst of a narrow valley, ambushed and outnumbered, Leila found herself face to face with the very definition of desperation. The sound of footsteps grew imminent, shadows closing in. Time ceased, fear pulsed like a living weapon. She squeezed her bundle, feeling the fragile life within, a tiny heartbeat defying destruction. With the last reserves of courage, she darted into the brush, the cold air slicing through her lungs as bullets whizzed past. Every second counted. Survival was no longer a choice but a primal command. But this story, like many others erased from history books, hides a darker truth. The refugees who escape conflict zones are not merely fleeing violence, they are haunted by it. Their plight extends beyond physical boundaries into the deepest scars of the human psyche. War does not end at the battlefield. It continues in the trembling hands clutching memories, in silent cries beneath the starless sky, in a weary journey chased by distrust and prejudice. Leila's fight was both against enemies and against the brutality of being forgotten. Leila's legacy is not one of grand victories or celebrated heroism, but a quiet testimony to resilience amidst despair. Her survival speaks volumes about the human cost of war, the invisible battles waged far from cameras and headlines. She became one voice among millions lost to time, a living chronicle of what it means to be uprooted, a stirring question left lingering. What would you do if forced to flee everything you ever knew? And more haunting still, how many Leilas remain unseen, carrying stories that demand to be heard?